Hello, welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl. So we're right at the back end now of the faction focus for the High Elf realms in Warhammer the Old World. And here we're going to take a look at a couple of sample army lists. So the first one here, 2,500 points. That is my sweet spot for armies to play. It's on the larger side. I know a lot of people like sort of the 2,000 points, but I think the game plays as it is right now with the rules and the limitations. I think 2,500 points is a nice sweet spot to play the game at, and that's what the army lists are built around. And but it should be noted, we're doing two episodes, Army List 1, Army List 2. Both of the army lists are designed to be fun to play for both the person who's using the army and fun to play for the person who's facing the army. This is not an ultra competitive list. I do not recommend you take this to a tournament. I recommend you take this to a pickup game at your local club. I recommend you use this when you're playing with your mates at home with some beer and pretzels. So let's take a look and see what's in it. First up, characters. Pretty much standard for me in my army list. I'd like to take a level 4 Archmage. This time we're taking in with High Magic and a Dispel Scroll. And then we're taking a Mage, level 2 with a Power Scroll and Law of Illusion. So those are our two magic characters, and then we're taking a single High Elf Prince on a Barded Elven Steed with a lance, a shield, full plate armor, Blade of Leaping Gold, and Blood of Calidor because he's going to go in our Dragon Prince unit. So that is our characters coming in at 545 points, so well below the cap on characters. So taking a look at the core, we're taking a unit of 20 Lothern Seagull, giving them a full command group and shields, and we're supporting that with 20 Elven Archers and another 20 Elven Archers, both of which only have a musician. That's due to points limitations. But you can see there we've got kind of that sort of block infantry with the spears. But so there's 60 missile shots there. So yeah, I do trend towards gun lines, but there's 60 missile shots there. But at least a Lothern Seaguard can fight a little bit as well. So taking pretty much close to the minimum amount of points allowed. And with the High Elves, I do tend to limit my core to that sort of minimum amount of core points allowed. Almost like a core tax, I know some people say, but there are some armies where going high on core doesn't matter as much. But the Elves, I prefer to have the maximum amount of points in the special, rare categories and so on. So when we take a look at the second part of the army list, special then, we're taking 8 Dragon Princes with a full command group, the Rampaging Banner to make sure we can reroll charges, and don't forget that will be where the High Elf Prince also goes. So that's going to be a pretty hard-hitting unit. We're going to have the Phoenix Guard there, so your nice, durable unit, full command group, taking the Banner of Arcane Protection. So they're kind of going to sit in the middle of the army. We're going to try and feed off some of that Banner of Arcane Protection to the Lothern Seaguard, and then also the Swordmasters of Hoeth who are with them. They've got to be within 6 inches to gain that benefit, though. So we've got to be careful there, otherwise we will be quite limited in our mobility, and we don't want to block each other. But you've got a full command group there with the War Banner as well. So the Swordmasters there getting that extra help with their combat result bonus. So we're looking at sort of 2 solid blocks of infantry plus the Lothern Seaguard, all backed up by Elven Archers. So the aim there is, of course, we're going to keep those archer shots going, but with a very solid front line. A very traditional, almost style army deployment, if you can imagine it. Dragon Princes on the flank, and then on the other flank, a Frostheart Phoenix. I really like the Frostheart Phoenix, not as a mount this time as a single entity on its own, but able to provide that Blizzard Aura, making enemy units strike last. The total for this army comes in at 2,498 points out of 2,500. And like I say, this is all about being a fun-to-play army. You've got some heavy cavalry in there. You've got some cool elite infantry. You've got some magic. You've got some missile infantry. And you've even got a monster in there as well who's able to fly around and do some cool stuff. So overall, I think this, and I've actually used this list. It has been fun to play. It's an average performance list. It's had some good results. The Phoenix Guard, durable for an elf unit, but those Dragon Princes with the Prince hitting pretty hard. He's dealing out quite a lot of attacks with that Blade of Leaping Gold, and the Frostheart Phoenix really helping quite a lot in certain occasions where you can make people strike last. So, but he's got to be in base contact, and that sometimes you got to make sure that Phoenix is in base contact to get that. But overall, that is the first look at a High Elf army list. We are going to do a second one. It is going to be quite different in look and feel. So tune back in to see that one. But if you enjoyed this one, or you've got any comments on this one, then please let me know in the comments down below. I do reiterate again, because I do get it a couple of times, which is this is not meant to be competitive. It's meant to be fun to play and play against. Please hit the subscribe button. It's totally free for you to do. It takes a few seconds. The button's just down below. You've been watching The Ghost Owl. Tune back in and we'll take a look at another High Elf sample 2,500 point army list.